Please welcome Ankur Tyagi and Mayuresh Dani as they talk about decentralized communications.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know this is the last talk. We won't be keeping you from having a good time. These are the barcodes. You can use them and have them ask us questions. Before we begin with the talk, I just wanted to get a show of hands. How many of you have searched for ways to track your devices or cars or bikes? So that makes a lot, many of you. I didn't expect that. Okay, so that was, yeah. So that was how I personally started my journey with APRS and Meshtastic. I bought a new Ducati last year, and one of the first things that I was told to do was get a GPS tracker on top of it. I didn't want to get an Apple whatever AirTag it's called, because it's everybody knows how it looks, and it's very easy to find. So the first thing that I found was this thing. This is a Meshtastic device. As you can see, no one can think that it's a tracker of sorts, but I'll come to this when we discuss more about Meshtastic. So welcome to our talk, Decentralized Communications, with a deep dive in APRS and Meshtastic. This is Mayuresh, and this is my colleague Ankur. So a little bit about both of us. I'm into detection engineering, adversary simulations, and security research. And Ankur he's a cybersecurity enthusiast. He's more of a radio security, not a jockey, sorry, radio security enthusiast. And also he's a packet hacker. That's his call sign. So if anybody is into ham radio, please make a note of it. And you can contact him there. So this is the brief of how we'll be talking about all the decentralized communications. What are we going to do? Even though a lot of people know about radio frequencies, we're also including a bit of a cheat sheet about what we are talking about. Simple terms, what we'll be talking about, what is the architecture of both APRS and Meshtastic, and what are the security implications, and then a few suggestions, if we may suggest, and then what are the conclusions or resources that you may use to get more familiarized with both these protocols. So beginning with the need for decentralized communications. How many of you have heard of this term fire sale? Right. So one of the use cases, exactly, so this is a scene from the movie Die Hard that came out in 2007, sorry. So there was a fire sale where every communications go down, all means of communications go down. And this is one of the use cases which you can definitely make use of, where either a natural disaster strikes or as the fire sale, your communications are down. So, but you still want to reach out to people outside, either for help or just communications. So that is one of the use cases where you need decentralized communication networks like APRS or Meshtastic. You might be out trekking in, Yosemite or any all far-off areas where you don't have radio or cell phone coverage, but you still want to reach out. I know last year I was at Yellowstone and I had to take walkie-talkies there. So one of those areas, definitely you need either of these two solutions there. Or generally, if you want to be independent from eavesdropping, I don't know, how many of you are concerned about people listening to your conversations. So one of these protocols will also help you be protected from that. And then emergency response. also emergency response police, they also use one of these networks. And as a community, BSides, we see a lot of volunteers. They're using these walkie-talkies. They are also, you can consider them one of a small example of a community network. So a bit of a historical context before we go deep. In 1982, Bob Berninga, that's his call sign, he introduced APRS to map high-frequency Navy positions. So Navy position reports. So there you have it. That this comes from a very trusted source that and it will work in location mapping. In 1990s, APRS IS was introduced, where local RF nodes were now connecting to internet. And then 2014, a company called as Cycleo, they patented LoRa, or long range. And then 2019, Meshtastic emerges. Since 2019, like you see that icon there, it has been a crazy level of adoption of people for Meshtastic. That really helps the community. Please do definitely get involved in Meshtastic. So that's about the historical context. And as I was saying, this is the cheat sheet for radio communications. So as we know, radio frequency is made up of electromagnetic waves between 3 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz. It's made up of transmitters, receivers, and antennas, which is used for propagation. And the fundamental properties are frequency modulation or wavelength, and the power that's needed to transmit, and the bandwidth which is needed to transmit on. And then again, the type of modulation depends on the type of protocol. Examples are frequency modulation, which is used by APRS, LoRa, which is again uses Meshtastic. And then a couple of keywords: line of sight. So in radio frequency terms, if you can see something, that is your line of sight, and that is how long your radio waves can reach without being stopped, right? So that is about it. Talking about APRS, Ankur will continue.
Hi, everyone. So before we start with APRS, so what exactly is APRS? APRS is Automatic Packet Reporting System. So anyone here in the audience already have a ham radio license? Any ham radio operators? Okay, you guys already know this, but for everyone's sake, so APRS is a data mode for ham radio operators. So it allows you to transmit data packets or digital data over ham radio frequencies. And these data packets can have location updates, they can have telemetry data, they can have weather reports as well. So it extends the use cases for a typical ham radio user. But because this is only for amateur radio operators, you would need to have a license first of all. So FCC licensing hierarchy goes by technical and then general and then amateur extra. You would at least need to have a technical license to be able to get started with APRS. This is, there is a barrier to entry here. So for everyone interested in APRS, if you would like to transmit on APRS, you would need to get a license. But because the radio frequencies are open, anybody can tune in. You can listen, read, and watch activity on APRS. There are internet connected sites as well that gives you, these sites give you visibility into the net, the activity going around the world on the APRS frequencies. So there's no one stopping you from looking at what exactly is happening on the RF. But if you would like to transmit, you would like to actively participate, you would need to get a license. Let's talk about the network structure. For APRS, what you need is you need a ham radio, obviously. I have this Bofang radio, and this is connected to a TNC. This is a modem of sorts, and then using this, architecture, I can listen and transmit on the APRS frequencies. This will not have as wide of a range as I would like it to be, but there are ways to extend your range, and these are done by repeaters. And these, on the amateur radio terminology for repeaters, is digital repeaters or digipeaters. What these repeaters do is, if you are in a range of a digipeater, you connect to that, and then your packets are then forwarded by the digipeater across the RF range of that device. These systems can also be connected to the internet, and these systems connected to internet are called iGates, internet gateways. So this is how you bridge the RF with the internet. So if you are broadcasting over, or if you are listening over APRS, you can forward your packets to the internet as well. And systems that are connected to internet can now view and index the activity of the RF. Security model is important since this is open by design. FCC Part 97, this is a regulation. If you are a ham radio operator, you know this. Any and all sorts of encryption is prohibited. So these frequencies are supposed to be open. Anybody can tune in. They can send packets if they have the license and the validation to do that. But everything has to be clear text. No encryption at all. Authentication, this is limited to your call sign. So everybody who has a license will get a call sign by FCC, and then you use a call sign to identify yourself on the APRS network. Authentication in APRS, it uses a password-based system which is open. So we cannot really call it a password, but your call sign is hashed to a number, and then this number is used as your identity. And you use that to identify yourself, and you can use a call sign. There are problems with this architecture, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation. Here is a quote from Bob Renninga, the founder itself. He's silent, he is no more, but he very nicely summarized that people think of APRS as a vehicle tracking system, but in his words, this is not just a vehicle tracking system. It's a tactical, real-time information exchange mechanism. And in a grid-down scenario, this is your means of reaching out and connecting to the world. Because by nature this is open, you can also use this to get for situational awareness of your surroundings. This is bridged to the internet, so this gives you access and visibility outside of your immediate RF boundary. Even if you are not able to reach a particular or reach your loved ones using your RF devices, if there is a gateway in your range, that gateway will broadcast your traffic over the internet, and now your loved ones, your people who are looking for you, can locate you. This is a map. There are sites that curate activity from the APRS network, and then they can, using the GPS location of the nodes that are broadcasting, they can map it over and show it to us. So the nodes in the blue, they are weather reports. So there are a lot of people who are they have their own weather monitoring systems, and they connect it to APRS and broadcast weather reports. People broadcast position reports as well. So this also serves as a way of getting situational awareness of the weather reports that are very highly and very, very concentrated around the areas that you are interested in. Rather than going to a centralized server, this is a locally curated and populated data. Let's talk about the technical foundation. So we need to understand that APRS uses AX25 packet radio system. So APRS is a packet radio mechanism. And what I mean by that is, over voice communication channels, what you are sending is digital data. So it has to be encoded, decoded in the right form, in the right manner. Frequency modulation is the technique we use here. The frequency, the primary frequency for APRS in North America is 144.390. This is, by design, there is a standard around the world where these frequencies are not used. So for European Union, they would use a different frequency band. So if you move to a different continent, if you move to a different place, you would need to check the local regulations and understand what the frequency, frequency reservations are for that area to make sure you're compliant. We'll look at the packet format for APRS in detail, but just to give a very brief overview, APRS is clear text. You have a source and a destination. So the node sending out some data, you would have everything clear text. You can specify what exact path you would like to follow, what nodes you would like to propagate through, and then you have a delimiter and optionally some data as well. There are stations. There are digipeaters like we talked about, iGates. These bridge the internet and the RF. APRS-IS is a mechanism to collect internet broadcasted data and show it to the users over the World Wide Web. There are hop count mechanisms. We'll talk about these in the upcoming slides. Here is an example. So let's look at the packet data here. So APRS traffic, like for example here, we wrote a Python script to decode this data. Now, the first example is position update. So there are latitude, longitudes updated, and there is a comment field as well. So it's clear text, encoded. Some of the data is readable, but most of it you will have to decode it, but it's pretty easy to do that. You can do that in a Python script as well. The second screenshot also shows similar update, but then this is coming from a device that is broadcasting not just its position, but also some of its status, battery status, and everything else. This is a hex dump. Just wanted to show you the raw data. So, even if you don't have a decoder, you can just look at the data raw dump and you can make sense of it, what exactly is happening. So you have a AX25 header, you have some binary data at the start of the stream, and then everything else is text. Just a summary of what exactly you can send: position reports, messages, status, weather data, telemetry. So the use cases are pretty wide. So this is a very generic mechanism to share text-based data over voice channels. Here is a sample code. Just wanted to show that it's very trivial to connect to APRS-IS gateway. All you need to do is write a socket program. That's it. You need to point it to a host and a port. Authentication, like I said, it's pretty trivial. You need to have a call sign. I don't recommend it, but you can use someone else's call sign, find a password for that. But that is what the security people do, just to prove this is a POC. So you can calculate the password and then you can use that here as well. Or I would recommend have your own call sign. Once you have data coming in on RF or from the internet services bridge, you will need to decode that. And decoding is pretty trivial as well. All you need is to, there are these character assignments. Every character would mean something. So you write a map and then, map it to the right value. The security model, this is of interest. So Bruce Willis is trying to reach the bad guys, but this being an open mechanism, everybody can listen to him. So just to clarify, APRS and Meshtastic are not voice enabled. So we are using this just as a, for reference here, but all you can send is text data, not real voice. So, like I talked about, authentication is, pretty limited. So you need to have your own call sign, but you can use someone else's call sign, calculate their password on your own because the mechanism is pretty open and you can, pretty much, yeah.
How would you calculate the password? I have a call sign, right?
Yeah, so, the question is, how do you calculate the password? Is it right? Okay. So password calculation, pretty simple. You just Google it, calculate APRS password. You will get a site that will calculate it for you. Or the mechanism is simple enough. I've converted that to a bash script. So just to let you know. So it's pretty trivial. So anybody can do that. It's more like a hashing mechanism. So every call sign will map to a number. It's a numeric value that you get after the password calculation. So you use that to identify yourself to the network. Network knows how to calculate passwords, so they can validate that way. So, but there is nothing else that stops people from doing it for any call sign they know of. And call signs are public database. So all FCC registrations and anybody here with a call sign would already know our addresses, our details are already out in the public. So it's pretty trivial to find call signs and then find passwords and authenticate as that person. So authentication is it's virtually absent here. Encryption is not enabled by design. This is FCC mandated, Part 97, so you're not allowed to do that. This is legally bounded, so everything on APRS is clear text. Access control is regulatory because you need to have a license, but it's debatable. Data integrity, you need to have. There are basic CRC-based checks built into it, but that's it. No privacy at all. So talking about the security risk, spoofing, it's a very high risk because you can spoof as anyone. Even if you don't have a call sign, you can spoof as an amateur radio operator. Eavesdropping, it's built into it. So, you can say that the protocol was designed for eavesdropping. Jamming is a moderate risk because jamming is always possible, because if you have a high enough transmit power antenna present in your vicinity, you will always face jamming. But yeah, that is also a possibility. Man in the middle is also of concern, and data manipulation. All right, so that's it for APRS.
Oh, he has a question, Ankur.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the question is, will the code and everything else be available? So yes, we have a QR code for the GitHub repository. We have not populated that yet, but we will do that after the talk. Slides and code and everything else. Thank you.
Okay, coming to the 2018s or 2020s with Meshtastic now. So Meshtastic, as we started, it's still an open source, but an off-grid messaging platform. It is built on ESP32 micro controllers and works on, again, license-free ISM bands. You need to make sure that you sign up or you subscribe to the location where you are located in, because all these bands are different. So in US it's 915 megahertz, in Europe it's different, and Asia is different. Yeah, because if you select some other band, if you select another country, then you're not going to be able to transmit and receive. And then the key features of this Meshtastic protocol is simple. Think of the time when you were a kid and you were in a classroom. You wanted to pass a note to one of your classmates who was sitting right behind. So what you would do is you would write your message in a piece of paper and pass it on to your classmate. What the classmate would do is he would copy the same message thrice, so he would copy the message and then pass it to 3 more people. And this continues until the message reaches your friend. Now, there are 2 things to consider here. One is by 3, what I meant was the hop count. So a message in Meshtastic is always traveling 3 hops. There are ways that you can increase the hop count, but it will cause congestion and all of these things. But so suggested that you use 3. The other thing is important, that the message is encrypted in this case. So no matter, everybody gets the the note to write, but they don't get to know what the message was. So even if whatever you send across, it won't be visible to everybody. And then by premise, you can just, as Ankur shared, by premise you can just share text, small pieces of text. There is no voice or data. So it is more fit for sharing your locations and telemetry and so on and so forth. And then since this is built on the ESP32 microcontroller, it has a long battery life. Again, now talking about the technical foundation, so I've covered a bit of it here. It's a fully distributed mesh architecture, which supports automatic discovery and dynamic routing of packets. And you also have nodes which are connected to the internet, which then make the range of your packets wide. And then, as I said, with encryption, all these packets are encoded by AES 256 standards. And you have 2 keys that are created with every device. One is the channel key, and which is shared with everybody, so that when you open up your app for Meshtastic, you can chat on like a world chat sort of a thing. And then there's a private key with which you can just talk to a person, one person that you wanted to talk with. This is, like Ankur showed, that was the screenshot from APRS.FI website. So this is from Liam Cottle. That's a well-known, very well-known website. These blue dots show that there are internet-enabled or MQTT-enabled servers that are showing your Meshtastic nodes. So these are not exact nodes, but these are internet-connected nodes here. Now, technically, Meshtastic is a firmware, you can say, which is meant to be, which is working on ESP32 and recently on NRF52 and RP2040 platforms. And then it works on long-range modulation on ISM bands and all these frequencies that we know of. One important feature that we needed to highlight here is that it's based on protobuf. So it enables efficient binary encoding with both forward compatibility. And as we know, LoRa also helps you with, it uses basically chirp spread spectrum, which spreads your, a chirp is a type of a message or indication that you get to use when you start playing with Meshtastic. And it is much more better than other modulation techniques like FSK and all of those. And then the topology, when we talk about architecture, it's every node can relay for everybody. And this perpetually can keep on happening until either two things happen. One, that the signal dies off or the intended person gets the message. And then in Meshtastic, you have automatic neighbor detection. And then using dynamic path selection, the neighbors are selected. And the way you interface with Meshtastic on certain devices is directly using a Bluetooth. So in my case, this device does not have any screens, as you can see. So I have to connect to it using Bluetooth from my phone, and then send and receive messages. This device here it has a screen. It's not turned on because it's not battery powered. But it has its own screen, and it can act as your home node. So now looking at the packet structure, a Meshtastic packet structure comprises of a channel ID, which identifies the encryption, node ID, packet ID, and the hop limit, as I said, which is one of the important factors here. One thing that we need to stress here is that the header is always encrypted. Header is always clear text, but the payload is always can be encrypted if you choose to, using the AES-256 method. And then payloads, you can choose what do you encrypt. Is it the message or content or the metadata? Now, metadata can be your location and all of that, battery and all of the data. And then this is how the packet looks, Meshtastic packet looks like. For people in security who are into detection engineering or malware analysis, if you must have heard the term MZ, right? So that's the magic header for a binary. So $, in this case, is the packet header for Meshtastic packets. I know this looks. This is the protobuf enabled header, and then this is an unencrypted package, an unencrypted packet from Meshtastic. I know this does not look much different from the previous one because this is all in binary, but this is clear text, and this is how the packet will look like when we sniff on the network. And then these are the data types that Meshtastic supports. Like I said, text messages, positioning, reports, and telemetry around what is happening. And then channel announcements, along with the mesh configuration. So this is a simple Python script, which we will share again, where we configure a specific channel to subscribe to, talk to. And then this script again is where shows a callback when a message is received. So what to do, where are we getting it from, who sent it, and what is the channel ID and everything. And then there's a security. Let's talk about the security model. Does this happen in Meshtastic? No. So Bruce Willis, like we know, again, Die Hard series. One of the first series where I saw Bruce Willis, breaking the gang using walkie-talkies because he could just simply infiltrate their comms because it was unencrypted. But considering Meshtastic and APRS are just text-based walkie-talkies, this is not possible if encryption is enabled. So this, in short, authentication is enabled in Meshtastic using AES 256. And then data integrity is also maintained using CRC and packet verification. And pretty much you can, access control is also maintained using channel-based groupings. Another important thing that we saw recently was this. We started seeing a lot of CVEs for Meshtastic firmwares coming up. As of today, there are 6 CVEs, and of which one, the CV 2025 2497, the first one that you see, is a RCE. So if you have Meshtastic devices, definitely upgrade yourself to the latest 2.5 version, if I'm not wrong. 2.5. And then just a comparison, or rather statement that, Meshtastic, so you can't, with Meshtastic, you can't spoof as much because you need a channel key. Eavesdropping, again, low if encryption is enabled with an AES 256 key, unless someone gets that. Jamming, again, if it is, of course, it's a radio frequency, so you can jam the whole networks. Man in the middle, again, can happen at internet connected or gateway points. And then replay attacks is also moderate risk. One of the vulnerabilities that we saw was also fixed that supported replay attacks, also fixed in the 2.50 firmware. And this is the model comparison.
So let's try to compare APRS and Meshtastic side by side. Just to summarize, this is a broad overview of what exactly the architecture looks like. Things of concern are, basically frequency. For APRS, you are limited to amateur radio bands. These give you wider range, but then you are limited to clear text transmissions only. ISM bands on Meshtastic give you much lesser range comparatively, but then you have the, the niceties of using AES 256. So, yeah. Regulatory environment limits the use cases. So for someone looking to get started, this might be a blocker. If you are trying to compare APRS and Meshtastic, the first thing that you would need to consider is, do I need to get a license first of all? And if you're not willing to do that, you have your answer. Meshtastic is the choice. If you're looking for range, APRS is a better choice, but then Meshtastic is also a good option. You're not losing out much on there, but then there is a problem. Threat model, expected adversary capabilities. We expect adversaries to be able to spoof and listen into the APRS communications and be able to emulate and spoof the traffic for Meshtastic as well. There are concerns around power and maintenance and expertise. You would need to have some sort of expertise to be involved and have a good enough community network and maintain that and to be able to use that. We, looking at these concerns, we tried to summarize some of our thoughts, and we thought we would list down some of the recommendations that we as a community can have for these for the users. First of all, we as users can look through these, and then for the implementations as well. If you are part of the implementation project, you can try to focus on these. For APRS, we would like users to understand the inherent differences between the two technologies. So this is not a one is better than the other comparison. Both of these excel in their own ways, but then you need to understand your use cases. So the design goal here were different for both these protocols and standards, and as such, we would need to consider those when we are considering our use cases as well. For implementations of APRS, the iGates and the TNCs and the applications, user-facing applications, we would like the iGate authentication mechanisms to be improved. We would like user authentication, the password-based mechanism, to be replaced with something that is much more secure in a manner that it is not open by nature, at least. User education, this is something that we were hoping for, and this talk is on the same lines. We would like users to be educated on these principles and functional differences so that they can take a call. For Meshtastic, we recommend users to enable encryption by default. Meshtastic gives you an option to optionally use encryption, but as a standard practice, we would request everybody to use it. These are small text-based updates, and they are limited to 3 hop count. By default, this would not really be a big concern if you enable encryption. We are using it with small form factor devices, and there are no issues as such. Some people are concerned about battery range, and this could be a reason to disable encryption, but in our test with these devices, it's not making much of a difference. Secure key distribution, this is a primary concern. So inherently, the protocol doesn't support key exchange mechanisms. So if you would like to create your own channel, you don't have a way to exchange key using the protocol itself. So you need to use something out of band. And WhatsApp is not a good use case, right? So you cannot share your keys using WhatsApp. So we would like to see something, we would like this to be a focus for users as well. Rotate key, channel keys, and secure physical devices. Perfect forward secrecy, it's a goal. Bluetooth security and tamper-evident features as well. All right, so to conclude, like I said, both these systems have their own value additions. APRS is it predates modern internet, so it is a 1980s technology, but it has a very wide user base. So it has stood the test of time, right? So it's a Lindy protocol, and I would definitely recommend everybody to look into it. Getting a amateur radio call sign, getting license is not a big deal. Everybody here, I think, can definitely get a license, at least to technician level. So that gives you a authority, a legal receipt to get started with. Security must be understood in the context. So if you feel like you would need secure, encrypted, and private by default communications, Meshtastic is the choice. That's it, no questions. But if you are open and if you are not concerned about private messages, if you would just like to broadcast, for example, weather reports, they don't always have to be encrypted, right? So you can choose APRS as a mechanism. All right, so there is a lot that has been talked about on APRS and Meshtastic, and honestly, we don't feel like sharing every link here would be a good solution. So we would like users to be pointed to the source. So APRS specs are hosted on aprs.org, meshtastic.org for Meshtastic, and there are really decent communities. This is what we used to get started with. So we would like everybody new to be involved and be part of these communities as well. The slides and code, everything would be hosted on GitHub. So this is the QR code. We will do that by the end of the day. So just look out for those. And that's it. Any questions? And
Yeah, we'll start some questions here. All right, so we've got one coming, and we're going to do them all via Slido. So again, if you ask via Slido, that's the best way to do it. Slide.do, BSidesSF 2025. That's your code. And we're in Theater 6. So we'll start off with this first question. What is your Meshtastic call sign?
There is no call sign on Meshtastic. So the nodes that you have, they will by default every node will have a MAC address. So the firmware uses the last 4 characters of the MAC address as the identifier, but you can change that. So there is a short name and a long name, and you can name your device anything. So there is no call sign in Meshtastic.
It looks like we might have had one here in the theater. So I'll just go ahead and ask it to me and make it short because I got to repeat it.
So what's your opinion on Mesh Core versus Meshtastic?
So what's your opinion on Mesh Core versus Meshtastic?
Mesh Core, I have not used it, but I have seen YouTube videos and I'm pretty excited about that. We would need to do some testing. Honestly, just because it's so recent, we have not been exposed to it yet.
I'll give you a few more seconds. I'm not seeing any in here. No question is too small or too silly to ask. I'll get one more here in the theater. I'm just checking. Again, Slido. Theater 6. Good. How are keys currently exchanged to permit Meshtastic?
So yeah, great question. So when you have the Meshtastic firmware installed, by default, everybody is on a global common channel, the primary 0 channel. Everybody is on the same channel because the key for that channel is hard-coded by the firmware, and everybody who uses the firmware will have that key by default installed. So AQ equals, this is a base 64 encoded version of the key. So because you know this key, everybody is on this channel. But now, if you would like to create your own private channel, you can do that with your app, with your client. But the problem is, how do you share that? So that is one of the concerns we raised here. So you need an out-of-band mechanism because the protocol itself will not support that natively or does not support it as of now. So you create a QR code and then you go to your user, walk up to them and then secretly scan it. So that's the best way to do that. WhatsApp, like I said, or any other social mechanisms out of band would not be a good solution. So this is a area of improvement. For example, there are no good mechanisms to do that as of now.
So Ankur also, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the world chat that I talked about. So once you share, because it's shared with everybody.
They want to know what TNC adapter you have plugged into that Baofeng again, if you could explain it.
Yeah, so these modems. So these devices, the Baofeng radio, this is a pretty decently priced radio to get started with. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that with this radio you can connect a cheap TNC. This is not exactly cheap. I'm not sure what the price was, but this was expensive. So I had to think about it. I didn't get it first time. I got my license, and then maybe after 1 or 2 years, I got this TNC. So, I had to save. So this is somewhere around $100, $200 or so. But then once you have this, you have the capability to transmit and receive APRS packets via Baofeng and similar radios. There are radios that are pretty cheap these days. They're under $200, cheaper than the TNC itself, and they have the TNC built into them. So the modem is part of the device itself, and the UI gives you features to configure it. Some of these radios will then connect to your Bluetooth app, and then you can manage the radio via the app as well. So you don't have to hard code and write everything or type everything out.
All right, I'm going to ask this last one here. Have you looked at any of the infrastructure on the back end for Meshtastic, particularly like Winx's in MQTT and the other?
Yeah, so MQTT, we have looked at how, so the Python example, the script that we showed is one of the ways we have interacted with the MQTT and the APRS backend. So once you are on the RF, you would like to expose your traffic to the internet and you would like to be listed on the Liam Kotel map site, for example, or any other node that is listening on the MQTT traffic, you would need to forward your traffic first of all. So the configurations are manual.
I think that was perhaps your thing down. Well, thank you, everyone. That will conclude the talk. Thank you so much, Ankur and Mayuresh. We are done for the day.
Hope you have a good conference and